Hello, friends. Today we delve into the unsettling story of a secretive interview that reveals the darkness within human trust. Join Alex as they confront an interviewee haunted by a past lie meant to protect a loved one. What happens when our protective instincts mask deeper truths? Watch closely. Alex sat across from the first interviewee, the flickering candle on the table casting shadows across the intimate room. The soft glow danced nervously, a reflection of the tension thrumming in the air. A question hung between them like an uninvited guest. Can one begin to trust without knowing the whole truth? The interviewee fidgeted, their eyes darting away, avoiding the intensity of Alex's gaze. The weight of expectation settled heavily in the space, stifling any hope for genuine revelation. Alex leaned forward slightly, the edge of their chair creaking under the shift in weight, marking the moment as crucial, yet felt the unmistakable barrier, an unyielding wall built from years of guarded interactions. Tell me about a time you felt you had to lie to protect someone. Alex prompted, voice steady but tinged with an underlying skepticism. They had rehearsed this question, hoping it would open the floodgates of honesty. But now it felt flimsy, like a matchstick poised against a raging wind. A pause stretched, laden with the unsaid. The candle flickered more violently, as though struggling against the doubt swirling in the room. I guess there was this time with my sister, the interviewee finally replied, their voice cracking under the weight of the confession. She was going through a rough patch, and I told her everything would be all right, even when I didn't believe it myself. Alex nodded, feeling the tide of vulnerability creep in, but caught in a tempest of wariness. Was this all there was? A reflexive lie meant to shield someone from pain? The skepticism tightened its grip around their chest, a familiar sensation that warned against misplaced trust. They could almost hear the echoes of their past betrayals whispering in their ear, cautioning against surrendering to the rawness of human connection. Did that help her? Alex asked, their voice softer yet probing, seeking deeper waters. The candle flickered again, its light flickering like the interviewee's resolve. I think it did. For a moment, came the hesitant reply. But I've come to realize that sometimes the truth can hurt more than a lie. Isn't that right? A knot formed in Alex's stomach at the words. The very idea that honesty could wield such destructive power felt like a familiar refrain, yet one that contradicted their deepest desires. They craved authenticity but grappled with the fear of exposure, of being laid bare and vulnerable. The lines of their own past twisted in their mind, a reminder of trust broken, connections severed, the swirling chaos of deceit. Do you think there's ever a time when lying is justified? Alex asked, the question slipping out before they could rein it in. The room felt charged, the silence heavy with contemplation as they awaited the answer. The interviewee considered this, their brow furrowing. I guess it depends on the intention behind it. If it's meant to protect, maybe. But then again, it might just lead to more pain down the line. Alex felt the flickering candle echo their own internal struggle, illuminating the fragile nuances of honesty and deception. Skepticism intertwined with a desperate longing for clarity. Each confession peeling back layers of protective armor, revealing an unrefined truth lurking beneath. They realized they were not just an observer. They were a participant in this dance, grappling with their own hesitations, their own hidden scars. The interviewee looked at Alex, their eyes brimming with questions unvoiced. And for a moment, the distance between them seemed to shrink, the unspoken truths hovering just beneath the surface. Alex held their breath, the flickering light casting shadows of potential intimacy. As they sat in that charged silence, the question reverberated. Can one begin to trust without knowing the whole truth? The soft glow of the flickering candle cast long shadows across the small living room, where the air seemed thick with unspoken words. Alex sat on the edge of the couch, fingers tapping nervously against the denim fabric of their jeans, a habit born from years of cultivating distrust. Across from them, Jamie leaned against the wall, arms crossed tightly, the posture of a sentry ready to defend against an unseen threat. "You really think it's that easy?" Jamie's voice was laced with a tension that felt palpable, like a taut string begging to snap. "Just lay everything bare and expect it to be okay?" "No, I don't think it's easy," Alex replied, their tone firm yet laden with uncertainty. "But it's necessary. I can't keep pretending everything's fine when it's not." The silence stretched between them, heavy like an anchor sinking into the depths of a murky sea. Jamie shifted, glancing away, a fleeting look of discomfort passing over their face. "Not every lie is harmful, you know. Sometimes it's about protecting people. Sometimes the truth, it just hurts." Alex's heart raced, an internal struggle igniting. "But those lies, Jamie, they're not just harmless. They build walls between us. Every time you hold back, I feel it, like you're keeping me at a distance." Their voice cracked slightly, betraying the vulnerability they fought so hard to conceal. Jamie swallowed hard, the flickering candlelight reflecting in their eyes, revealing a storm of emotions. "I'm trying to help. I don't want to lose you. If I told you everything, what if it changes how you see me? What if you don't want me around anymore?" "Isn't that what you're afraid of with me?" Alex shot back, the words spilling out before they could rein them in. "What if I can't handle the truth about you? What then?" The tension in the room thickened, wrapping around them like a suffocating shroud. Jamie's facade of confidence began to crack, revealing a deeper fear lurking underneath. "I just want to keep the peace, Alex. It's easier this way. Just let it go. Let's not dig deeper." But Alex couldn't let it go. Not anymore. "How can you say that? We're not living in some fairy tale where everything is fine as long as we pretend. Our friendship deserves more than that." The words hung in the air, charged with an intensity that felt almost electric. Glancing momentarily at the locked box on the shelf, a symbol of the secrets they both held so tightly, Jamie spoke softly, almost to themselves. "You really believe that honesty can fix everything?" Their voice trembled, revealing the cracks in their armor. "I believe it's a start," Alex replied, their heart pounding. "But every lie you tell is another lock on that box. It doesn't just protect you, it isolates me. How can we be close if we keep hiding?" The question lingered, unanswered, lost in the charged atmosphere. Jamie shifted again, the weight of their own protective lies colliding painfully with the growing demand for honesty from Alex. The candle flickered, illuminating their faces as shadow danced across the room, mirroring the turmoil within. "Can you really go back once the truth is out?" Jamie finally asked, their voice barely above a whisper, a hint of desperation threading through their words. "I don't know," Alex admitted, the raw honesty shocking them both. "But I can't stay here, trapped by what's been left unsaid." As the candlelight waned, they both understood that the fragile ties of trust they'd built were now teetering on the edge. The locked box stood as a stark reminder that maintaining peace through deception came with its own price. A price they were both now forced to confront. The dim light in the small cafe flickered like the fragile connection between Alex and Taylor. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee hung in the air, mingling with the unspoken tension that wrapped around them like a heavy fog. They sat across from each other, the small table acting as both a barrier and a bridge, its surface littered with half-empty cups and untouched pastries. Alex leaned back slightly, arms crossed defensively, scanning Taylor's face for clues that had remained buried beneath the calm facade. Despite the laughter and warmth that usually flowed between them, today felt different. A shadow lurked behind Taylor's eyes, a flicker of something unspoken, a secret waiting to be unearthed. The silence stretched, thickening like the air before a storm. "Are you okay?" Alex finally asked, the words more tentative than expected, as if asking would somehow summon the truth. Taylor's gaze darted away, tracing the patterns in the wood of the table, their fingers fidgeting with an invisible thread. "Yeah, just a lot on my mind." The response was too rehearsed, too practiced. Alex's heart raced, the familiar coil of suspicion tightening within. It was always the same with Taylor. The gentle smile, the soft voice, the way they weaved warmth around every conversation. But beneath that, a locked box of secrets lingered, threatening to spill over if opened. Is it about work? Or something else? Alex pressed, instinctively leaning forward, the urge to bridge the distance overwhelming yet fraught with danger. "It's nothing, really." Taylor's voice was steady, but the slight tremor in their hand betrayed a different story. The words hung heavy in the air, dense with implications. Alex could feel the heat rising in their chest, a mix of frustration and anxiety. "You know you can tell me anything, right? I feel like there's something you're not saying." The words slipped out before they could be fully processed, each syllable a tentative step toward a river of uncertainty. Taylor's eyes darkened momentarily, and for a heartbeat, a flicker of vulnerability shone through. "I don't want to burden you with my problems. It's complicated." The taste of dread curled in Alex's stomach. Complicated. Such an insidious word. It was a signal, a warning that the truth lay twisted beneath layers of polite deception. "Complicated how?" they asked, the edge of their voice betraying an urgency that felt both necessary and reckless. Taylor hesitated, lips pressed tightly together, as if the very act of revealing the truth would shatter something precious between them. Sometimes, it's easier to keep things locked away. Alex's heart sank at the metaphor, the image of a locked box springing into their mind. What secrets were crammed inside? What truths were deemed too painful to share? The question hung in the air, refusing to dissipate. How long can you hide the truth before it erodes trust? The silence stretched again, thickening with unsaid words. Alex shifted in their seat, feeling the weight of the unspoken words. A chasm growing between them, a fragile bridge threatening to crumble under the weight of unacknowledged fears. Taylor's eyes softened, but the distance remained. "I care about you, Alex. I don't want to lose what we have." But with every second that passed without confession, the cracks in their trust widened. Alex could feel the gnawing sensation of doubt creeping in, a relentless whisper that perhaps the truth would unravel everything. And yet, the longing for honesty battled against the fear of what that honesty might destroy. "Then let's not pretend," Alex said finally, their voice trembling with a mixture of hope and despair. "Let's be real with each other." But as they spoke, the flickering candle of hope fought against the encroaching darkness of deception, illuminating the fragile state of their connection. In that moment, the cafe's dim light felt sharper, the reality of their situation pressing down upon them. The weight of their secrets loomed large, and for the first time, the ghost of what lay unsaid felt almost unbearable. The room was dimly lit, shadows clinging to the walls like secrets waiting to be unearthed. A flickering candle on the small table fought against the encroaching darkness, casting wavering light that mirrored the uncertainty in Alex Morgan's heart. He took a deep breath, trying to ground himself in the moment. Yet the weight of each confession hung heavy in the air. Across from him sat Lydia, a woman in her late 30s, whose eyes shimmered with unshed tears. She had just shared a story that twisted in on itself, revealing the layers of deceit she had draped over her life like a protective cloak. "I thought I was sparing him," she said, her voice trembling. "But in the end, I was only saving myself." "What do you mean?" Alex leaned in, the intrusion of his curiosity breaking through the tension. "I lied about my job, about my past," she confessed, the cracks in her facade widening. "I made it seem like I had it all figured out. But I was drowning in debt, in shame. I thought if I told him the truth, he'd leave." Her words spiraled into the air, laden with the ache of regret. As he listened, Alex felt the familiar sting of vulnerability creep into his chest. An unwelcome visitor. The stories of pain and betrayal were pouring out, unfiltered and raw, each one a shard of glass cutting deeper into his preconceived notions of trust. "Do you think lying can ever be justified?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, as if the very question could summon the truth like a specter. Lydia's gaze fell to the flickering candle. "We lie to protect, but we also lie to control," she said, the weight of her insight resonating in the silence that followed. "It's a double-edged sword, isn't it?" Alex felt the swell of doubt wash over him, a tidal wave crashing against the fragile shoreline of his heart. Each revelation from those he interviewed seemed to erode the shoreline further, exposing the jagged rocks of his own fears. Could he ever trust again? Was the cost of honesty truly worth the risk of losing everything? As the interview continued, the emotional terrain deepened. Another participant, Mark, shared his struggles with addiction, cloaked in lies that had isolated him from those he loved most. "I told them I was fine," he said, his voice thick with sorrow. "But I was just afraid they'd look at me differently." The symmetry of their pain echoed in the room, a haunting melody that played on Alex's very soul. He couldn't help but see the reflection of his own guarded nature in their confessions. The way he'd shielded himself with skepticism, convinced that full transparency would only lead to chaos. The candle flickered again, its flame dancing as if caught in the crossfire of the conversations. It felt like a fragile hope, barely surviving amidst the darkness. And yet, it was the only light in this room filled with shadows of doubt. "What if the truth breaks the connection?" Alex asked, the question slipping from his lips before he could retract it. His own fear dripped into his words, a confession of sorts. Then maybe it wasn't a connection worth having. Lydia replied softly, her eyes searching his for understanding. As the interviews continued, the atmosphere grew thicker with the weight of unspoken truths and half-formed lies. Alex felt himself being pulled deeper into the emotional whirlpool, the walls of his own defenses beginning to tremble. Each story was a thread, weaving a tapestry of complexity that challenged the very foundations of his belief in trust. He was no longer just an observer. He was entangled in the narrative, grappling with the question that loomed large in the air. Can the intricate dance of deception and honesty coexist without tearing the very fabric of relationships apart? The flickering candle provided little clarity, just a reminder of the fragile balance that held their connections together, teetering precariously on the edge of revelation. The dim light of the room cast long shadows across the walls, flickering like the wavering thoughts in Alex's mind. He sat on the edge of the worn-out couch, the fabric rough against his skin, grounding him in this moment. Yet he felt miles away. The air was thick with an unspoken tension, as if the very walls were leaning in, eager to hear the confessions he had come to extract. Yet his own heart was a fortress, fortified by years of betrayal. His mind drifted back to that rainy evening, the echoes of laughter now replaced by piercing silence. The memory hit him like a wave, crashing against rocks, relentless and unforgiving. He saw her face, the way her lips curled into a smile that held secrets, a smile that had once felt like home. But then it shattered, splintered into 1,000 fragments, just like the mirror hanging in the hallway that day, its edges sharp and dangerous. What a beautiful reflection, he had thought then, blissfully unaware of the lies that would soon unravel his world. In the shadows of his recollections, fear gnawed at him, a small creature burrowing deeper into his chest. The fear of opening up, of exposing the raw flesh beneath the facade he had carefully constructed, felt insurmountable. The thought of being vulnerable once more, of letting someone in, sent shivers down his spine. He remembered the words, spoken with such conviction, "Trust is a weakness." They echoed, taunting him, reminding him that his past was a heavy cloak he wore too tightly. Alex's breath quickened as he wrestled with the weight of those memories. Each betrayal felt like a dagger, twisting deeper into his psyche. He could almost hear their voices, those he once trusted, whispering in the recesses of his mind. "You'll never be safe. They will always hurt you." And yet, here he was, in a room designed for honesty, caught in the crossfire of his own making. He caught sight of the broken mirror across the room, its fractured surface reflecting distorted images of his face. What did he see in those shards? A coward? A victim? The truth eluded him like a fleeting shadow. He was both prisoner and jailer, the weight of his past shackling him to a life of isolation. The flickering candle on the table fought against the encroaching darkness, its flame a fragile symbol of hope, yet he found it hard to believe in its light. Could he reconcile with his past? Could he peel back the layers of his own protective armor and risk everything for a chance at connection? The question lingered in the air, a silent specter watching him with keen interest. A soft sigh escaped his lips, the sound almost foreign in the heavy silence. He felt the walls pressing closer, reminding him that true connection required more than just a willingness to participate. It demanded a reckoning with his own fears. The conflict within him raged like a tempest, a battle between seeking solace in solitude and yearning for the warmth of companionship. As he closed his eyes, Alex envisioned stepping through the shards of that broken mirror, allowing the pieces to cut him, to bleed. Perhaps only through that pain could he find the truth, his truth, hidden beneath the lies he had told himself for so long. But could he truly allow himself to be seen, to be vulnerable in a world that had taught him that honesty often led to suffering? The candle flickered again, casting ghostly shapes on the wall, dancing in the darkness, teasing him with promises of clarity. But the only certainty he felt was the burden of silence, pressing down as he fought to confront the complexity of his own heart. Would he dare to face the jagged reflections of his past? Or would he remain a prisoner of the lies, forever trapped in a cycle of distrust? The question loomed, unanswered, heavy in the room as he wrestled with the ghosts of his own making. The air in the small apartment felt thick, charged with an unresolved tension that seemed to swell with every heartbeat. Alex stood by the window, staring out at the city sprawled beneath them, the lights flickering like a million secrets waiting to be uncovered. Each pulse of illumination felt like a reminder of the truth they were skirting around. Taylor's truth. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows, creeping into the corners of the room as if it were trying to illuminate the darkness lurking within. "Alex, please." Taylor's voice was a husky whisper, strained yet laced with urgency. They were both acutely aware of the distance between them, a chasm filled with unspoken words and hidden fears. Alex turned, their gut twisting with a mix of anxiety and determination. "I can't keep pretending like nothing's wrong. You're hiding something from me, and I deserve to know what it is." The words spilled out, raw and unfiltered. They felt the weight of each syllable, heavy with the implications of betrayal. Taylor shifted, their expression a fragile mixture of defiance and despair. "What do you want me to say? Do you think the truth will change anything?" "I'm terrified, Alex. Terrified of what will happen if you truly know me." The frustration in their voice was palpable, bouncing off the walls like a caged bird desperate to escape. "Then let me in," Alex urged, stepping closer, their heart racing. "I can't keep doing this dance of uncertainty. I can't live in the shadows of your secrets." They gestured toward the small bookshelf in the corner, where a locked box sat, collecting dust. It was an unassuming object, yet it represented everything they were grappling with, the weight of unshared truths, the fear of exposure. "What's in there, Taylor? What are you keeping from me?" A flicker of something, fear or guilt, crossed Taylor's face, and they looked away. "It's not just a secret. It's a part of me that I don't know how to share. I don't want to lose you." Their voice trembled, revealing the vulnerability beneath the carefully constructed facade. "Then why hide it?" Alex pressed, frustration mixing with a desperate need for connection. "Why not trust me enough to show me? We can face this together." There was a pleading tone in their voice, a silent invitation for Taylor to step into the light. But Taylor remained silent, the air between them crackling with unspoken words. Each second stretched, filled with the weight of their shared history and the fear of what lay ahead. Alex felt their own inner turmoil rise. Was trust really just an illusion, fragile and easily shattered? As the shadows deepened in the room, a sense of impending danger loomed over them. The question hung in the air, heavy and unresolved. Can we preserve our relationship when its foundation is built on hidden truths and the fear of revelation? Taylor's gaze finally met Alex's, and in that moment, the dam holding back the flood of emotions began to crack. "I don't want to hurt you," they confessed, the walls around their heart trembling under the strain. "But I don't know how to let you in. I don't know if I can." The flickering candle on the table between them illuminated the tension in the air, a fragile beacon of hope amidst the gathering shadows. Alex's heart raced, torn between fear and longing. They were standing on the precipice of something monumental, a choice that could either bind them together or tear them apart. In that intimate silence, both knew they were teetering on the edge of truth, caught between the desire to protect and the need to connect. The locked box remained a symbol of everything they feared to confront, their hearts echoing the same question. Would the truth ultimately bring them closer or drive them apart? The dimly lit room held an air of expectancy, a fragile atmosphere tinged with anxiety. Morgan Patel sat across from Alex, his presence both steady and inviting, the flickering candle on the table casting wavering shadows that danced across the walls. The warm glow flickered in tandem with the tension that hung thick in the air, a silent witness to the emotional turmoil brewing beneath the surface. "Let's talk about trust," Morgan began, his voice a calm anchor amidst the storm. Alex shifted in his seat, eyes darting to the candle, its flame a living embodiment of the uncertainty they were about to navigate. Trust was a delicate thing, especially for someone like him, who had built walls to protect against the pain of betrayal. "I don't know how to do this," Alex admitted, his voice barely above a whisper laced with fear. "Every time I think I'm ready to open up, it feels like I'm exposing myself to a world full of lies." The words hung in the air, heavy and raw, echoing against the walls. Morgan nodded, his gaze unwavering. "What if the truth isn't as black and white as we often believe? What if there's a middle ground where honesty and protection can coexist?" He leaned in slightly, inviting Alex to dig deeper. "What are you truly afraid of, Alex? Losing people or losing yourself?" The question hung in the air, heavy and unyielding. Alex felt a swell of emotions crashing against his resolve. "Both," he finally admitted, the words spilling forth like a dam breaking. "I'm terrified of being alone, of being abandoned again. But I'm also scared of who I might become if I keep pretending." Morgan's eyes softened, understanding the weight of Alex's admission. "What if you allowed yourself to be seen, even just a little? It's in that space of authenticity that real trust is built." As the candle flickered once more, its flame seemed to hold a promise, a flicker of belief that perhaps, amidst the chaos of truth and lies, there was room for something beautiful to emerge. Alex inhaled deeply, feeling the tension in his chest begin to ease ever so slightly. Maybe I could try," he murmured, the words tentative yet filled with the tiniest glimmer of hope. "But I don't know if I can do it alone." "You don't have to," Morgan reassured, his voice steady and supportive. "This journey towards honesty is rarely taken in isolation. It's messy, complicated, and often painful. But it's also where we find connection." The candle's flame flickered again, casting elongated shadows that danced across the room, a reminder of the complexities that lay ahead. The question lingered, unaddressed, in the air. How do we accept vulnerability and build trust despite the fear of the truth? Alex felt the stirrings of something within him. A yearning for connection, a tentative step towards breaking free from the chains of deceit. As he met Morgan's gaze, the flickering candlelight illuminated not just the room, but the path he might take. Uncertain, yet beckoning. The room felt stifling, a palpable tension hanging in the air like an uninvited guest. The bare walls, stripped of any embellishments, seemed to close in around them, amplifying the silence that stretched between Alex and Jamie. A flickering candle on the small table cast dancing shadows, its light struggling to penetrate the encroaching darkness that enveloped their conversation. Alex shifted in his chair, his hands clenched tightly in his lap. He could feel the weight of Jamie's gaze, heavy with secrets unsaid. "You've been lying to me," he said finally, his voice a shaky whisper that betrayed the storm brewing inside him. Jamie's expression shifted, vulnerability flickering across their features. "I've been trying to protect you," they replied, defensiveness creeping into their tone as they avoided Alex's piercing gaze. I thought it was for the best." "For the best?" The words escaped Alex's lips like a sharp intake of breath. "What do you mean? How can lying ever be for the best?" Jamie inhaled deeply, the air around them thick with tension. Sometimes the truth hurts," they said, their voice faltering. "I've lied to keep the peace, to shield you from things that could tear us apart. I didn't want you to hate me, to see me as I really am." The words hung in the air, heavy and accusatory. Alex's heart raced, anger bubbling just beneath the surface. But you don't get to decide what I can handle. You don't get to choose for me. The flickering candlelight caught a glimpse of Jamie's face, a broken mirror reflecting their own fear and uncertainty. I was afraid you'd leave, Jamie admitted, their voice breaking. I was terrified that if you knew the truth, you wouldn't want me anymore. Alex's chest tightened, the betrayal lacing itself through his heart like poison. But you've already put that in jeopardy with your lies, he said, the tremor in his voice betraying the rawness of his emotions. How can I trust you now? A silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken doubts and the weight of their fractured relationship. Jamie's eyes glistened with unshed tears, the vulnerability laying bare the fragility of their bond. I know it's complicated, they said, their voice barely a whisper. But isn't there room for forgiveness? Can't we find a way back from this? Alex's mind raced, the question lingering like a haunting melody in the air. Could he forgive this protective lie? Was there a path forward amid the shattered shards of trust? The room felt suffocating, and yet a flicker of understanding began to emerge from the chaos. A shimmer of hope intertwined with the fear coursing through his veins. As he studied Jamie, the broken mirror of their emotions reflected back at him, revealing the complexities of their situation. The lines between truth and deception blurred, and he felt the urge to reach out, to bridge the chasm that lay between them. But could he bear the weight of honesty? Could he trust that vulnerability would not lead to further heartache? The candle's flame flickered again, casting elongated shadows across the walls, a reminder of the tender yet perilous dance of intimacy they shared. With every passing moment, the weight of Jamie's confession stirred something within him, a tentative yearning to embrace the ambiguity of their connection, to explore the delicate balance between protection and honesty. But as he looked into Jamie's eyes, the question hovered over them, unyielding and unresolved. How do we forgive and rebuild trust after deception? The air thickened with uncertainty, but for the first time, Alex felt the fragile thread of possibility weaving through the cracks, whispering of a future where honesty and compassion might coexist. The dim light of the room flickered, casting shadows that danced across the walls like reflections of their turmoil. Alex stood by the window, the distant hum of the city muffled by the heavy silence that enveloped them. The air felt thick, almost suffocating, as he turned to face Taylor, who sat on the edge of the bed. Their eyes locked, a moment suspended in time, heavy with unspoken words and buried truths. Taylor, Alex began, his voice trembling slightly, a thin veneer of calm barely masking the storm beneath. I need to talk to you, honestly. Taylor's gaze flickered away, a telltale sign of the secrets they both knew hung like a dark cloud between them. What do you mean? The question was simple, yet the weight of it resonated loud in the space that now felt too small for both their fears. Alex swallowed hard, fighting the impulse to retreat into the familiar safety of silence. I need you to be honest with me. About everything. His heart raced, each beat echoing the fear of what he might unearth, the fear of losing what they had built, even if it was fragile and riddled with cracks. The corners of Taylor's mouth tightened, a flicker of pain flashing across their features. Is this really the time for this? Maybe we should just let things be. No! The word burst forth, sharper than intended, slicing through the tension. I can't let things be anymore. I can't keep pretending everything's okay when it's not. The admission hung there, raw and vulnerable, a flickering candle in the dark, illuminating the truth he had buried deep within. I'm scared, Taylor. Scared of what might happen if we peel back all these layers. Alex took a step forward, his hands trembling as he gestured between them, trying to bridge the chasm that had grown under the weight of unspoken truths. I'm scared of losing you, but I'm more terrified of living in a lie. Taylor looked down, their fingers fidgeting with the hem of their shirt, the action betraying an internal struggle. What if the truth shatters everything? What if it changes how we see each other, how we feel? The question hung heavy, a locked box between them, filled with secrets waiting to be unleashed. Maybe it has to, Alex responded, his voice softer now, laced with the weight of hope. Maybe breaking apart is the only way to build something real, something we can trust. There was a flicker of recognition in Taylor's eyes, a glimmer of understanding, but it was quickly masked by doubt. But what if we can't come back from it? What if we lose each other in the process? Alex felt the rush of tears prickling at the corners of his eyes, frustration and vulnerability swirling within him. I'd rather face the risk of truth than live in this haze of illusion. I want to know you, all of you, even the parts that hurt. I want to know if we can survive this, together. A breath of silence enveloped them, thick with uncharted territory. Taylor's gaze softened, the walls slowly crumbling under the weight of Alex's words. You're asking for a lot, they said finally, their voice barely above a whisper. I know, Alex replied, each word punctuated by the thrum of his heart. But I'm willing to try, even if it means facing what scares me the most. He took another step forward, closing the distance between them, a bridge formed on the precipice of honesty. I'm here. I choose this risk. I choose you. The room was charged with an electric tension, the atmosphere crackling as they stood on the edge of a precipice, both terrified and exhilarated. The flickering candle danced in the shadows, a fragile hope amidst the darkness of deception. As they faced each other, questions loomed heavy in the air, unanswered yet palpable. Can trust be rebuilt through such openness? In the fragile light of their truths, would they find a way to mend what was nearly broken? Or would the weight of honesty shatter their connection forever?